Welcome everyone to Daf Discussions. Today we are going to be discussing Masech Shabbos Daf Nun Aleph, the Shita of Rashi, with regards to Basis L'Dover Ha'Aser. We have to first see the Gemara. The Gemara says, Taman v'kiso v'dover she'eino nitl b'Shabbos. If you do the Hatmana and the covering of the pad as well with the dover she'eino nitl, with something which is muktzah, or you should taman v'dover ha'nitl b'Shabbos v'kiso v'dover she'eino nitl. If only the covering was muktzah, but the surrounding the side of the pat was not muktzah, so if part of the pat was uncovered, part of the top, noitul machzi, you can take it out and return it. Then lav ain't noitul machzi. If not, you cannot return it. Rashi asks, on the case of taman b'dover hanitl, the kisa b'dover she'ein nitl. In the case where the side of the pot is not muktzah, only the covering is muktzah. You know, the side of the pot is regular stuff that you're allowed to move. Like Rashi in the Baal Hamaor, yifnes vivoisel, hoyo b'dover hanitl. Why don't you just simply move away the covering which is on the side, since it's dover hanitl? Hold the walls of the pot, and then tip it over to the side, and then the cover will fall off. A stone which is on top of a chavis, you're allowed to tip it over. Yes, Akasha, why don't you just tip over the pot itself? If you forgot the stone on top, put it there on purpose. So Rashi says that our Mishnah, it's a basis l'davar ha'aser, therefore you cannot move the entire pot because you put it there purposely. So you can't pick up the pot and then tilt off the top because it's a basis l'davar ha'aser because it was put there on purpose. Now Rashi asked the obvious question, which you're all thinking, the heichot the megula muktzah. So what's pshat b'zoy? The Gemara says part of the top is uncovered. How come there you're allowed to shake it off? It's a basis. It's like Rashi ain't a total. This is not moving it at all. Shemitzadada, you're just moving it to the side. Vakisoy noifil me'elov, the covering falls by itself. So this Rashi is a play out sumo because he says to himself one line to the next. He just said our mission is a basis, and then he goes in the safe one is megol muktzah. Why is it not muktzah? So he says you're not moving it at all. You're not moving the muktzah. You're just mitzadidoi v'akisoi noifil me'elav. The covering falls, but very good. So you're not moving, let's say, the covering, but the pad itself is the muktzah. It's basis the davar ha'aser. So what are you doing? You're doing something. So you are moving it. So that's what Tosfos asks the kasha. Tosfos asks the atnan noitel is a kizvei noifil is a fil einon megol muktzah. The first kasha. What's this different? I'm also not moving, I'm just being mitzadid. So now, the Maharsha speaks out that there's a difference between Rashi, the first case and the second case, but he's not answering Tosfos' question. Even Tosfos understood there's a tremendous difference. Rashi understood, says the Maharsha, Rashi understood that in the case where it's Megula Muktzah, it's possible you can stick your hand into the part which is uncovered and just somehow tilt the pot, and you're not moving the muktzah at all. Not only you're not shaking, it's not moving. You're moving the pot, and then eventually the muktzah drops. You're not like pushing the muktzah. Eventually the muktzah is going to move. Masha en kain, where there's no covering, so the only way to do it is to pick up the pot. So then you're going to end up moving the muktzah. It could be min outside. You're going to moving it, then it's a problem of basis. That's a difference between the Rashi and the Seif, says the Maharsha. But Tosfos still asks, I don't care if you're moving it or not, but the pot itself is a basis. So you're not moving the muktzah, but the pot itself is doch a basis. Why is it any different than the case of Toman of the Evan Shal Pi HaChavis? That's the Tosfos kasha is on Rashi. So it's not going to help that you're not moving it at all. So there are 5 possible mahalchim to explain to Miyashiv Rashi. We'll start with the Maginei Shlomo's pshat. Maginei Shlomo says Rashi holds that a basis l'davar ha'aser is only aser to move, to pick it up. It's not muttar to benir. So it seems what he means is that you're allowed to shake it. That's not a problem for some reason. He doesn't really explain why. So and if you medayik Rashi Kuf Chafayim Beis, there's mashma like that very much. The problem is it's a steer from Rashi later on in Kuf Beis. We're not going to get into the steer's Rashi, but there's such a shita, and the Rabbeinu Tam and Sefer Ayosh and the Zarua as well. They say shita's Rashi is basis l'davar ha'aser is muttar b'niur. You're allowed to shake it. So Mamela, so that's the teretz. So in the Sefer, like Maharsha spoke out, you have to pick it up for some reason. You it's like the Bach, to pick it up. So picking up, it's not shaking. That's more of a that's a tiltul min atzad. That's a higher madrega. There it's taka aser, but just shaking is muttar. Now the svara, the difference between shaking and not is not clear. I don't think he means like the Maharsha that you're not moving the muktzah at all. It seems that it's a svara of nir. I'm gonna have to see later on. So one shot I saw is the shis. It's not mistabed means it, but the shis Shabbos Malachas Kreitzer, he brings down the Shulchan Aruch in Shin Beis Sifir Aleph that says Mishnah Slach L'Choyodoi Mekancho B'Znov Hasus. If someone's hand gets dirty, you're allowed to clean it in the tail of a horse. So the Bir Allah is matmiya. He doesn't have a teretz. If the horse is muktzah, how can you move the tail? So the Shis Shabbos wants him to machriya from there, and he has other makaris as well. The muktzah is only aser if you're moving the entire chavetz. Moving part of the chavetz is not aser. So possibly that's what the Maginei Shlomo means. But even if not, upon there's a madrega of nir. Now, just thinking, a similar mahalach, but not mamish like that. But you could go with the Maharsha, and you could say, I don't know if the Maginei Shlomo, you could say simply the Rashi holds that basis l'davar aser is only aser if you're moving the muktzah slightly as well. But if you're not moving the muktzah at all, you're not moving the muktzah at all, then it's going to be muttar. Now, what would be the lumdus for this? The mice, it's a basis, it's a muktzah. So the svara could be that you could say the logic behind basis l'davar aser is, why should a basis l'davar aser be aser? It's total minatzad. The muktzah itself is minatzad. The teretz is so you can learn that basis makes it asanishken total minatzad. That since this is supporting the muktzah, so when I'm moving that's considered a regular way of moving it. But if I'm not moving it at all, so you can say, so then it's not even tiltul matzad, it's nothing. So there's no problem with basis. Basis is only a problem because it makes tiltul matzad into a problem. But if there's no tiltul matzad, like Maharsha says, because you're not moving it all the way to mashma from Rashi, ein ze tiltul shematzad le'vekisi noyfil me'ela. That's what Rashi says. So again, Maginei Shlomo, I don't think he's saying. I think he's saying it's a sort of near. I don't think it means mamish like the way Rashi's mashma. But this is the way Rashi's very mashma. You're not moving it at all. So you could say the lumnus of Rashi is that basis is only a problem if you're moving the muktzah. Is only a problem if you're moving the muktzah somewhat. If you're not moving the muktzah at all, then there's no problem with basis, like we explained, because it takes away the problem of tiltul minatzad. Rabbi Akiva Eiger is a different mahalach to explain Rashi. He quotes the Baal Hamaor and the Ran. The Ran in the back, he says when you do a kisoy hatmana on a pat, the Ran, there's no problem. It doesn't come a basis. She'enak deir nase basis latmana l'kisoy. Then the tashmish lam adra beheim tashmishin l'kdeira. Basis means, let's say a table is holding something, so the table is serving the object. It's up there, but if something you're covering something, you can't say the pot's a basis for the covering. The covering itself is coming to cover the pot. Now, he puts that into Rashi as well. In Rashi, we're going to say there's two ways to learn Rashi. This is where Rabbi Akiva Eiger learns Rashi and Mem Testament Aleph. The Mishnah over there is talking about a very similar case where he covered the pot, where he covered the cover with muktzah. Rashi noitel kisu shel kedera sheshtar skliyav afagav she'en olev lo ichbislan lo naase basis lohen. It didn't become a basis. So Rabbi Akiva Eiger says, so memela. That's Rashi's opinion over here. There's no basis as well, but that's not going to answer the steer as Rashi, because Rashi before says that there is a basis in the sefer. So he says another shlad. He says Tais over here. He explains the reason why there's no basis because you put it in on condition you had in mind to take it out. So Rabbi Akiva Eiger, Tais later on in the Kufchav Gimel, he says that svara of aldas to take it out only works that you're allowed to do nior. It doesn't work to be able to move it klach hayad. Nior is a madrega below klach hayad. So Rabbi Akiva Eiger wants to say that this svara of Taisus Rashi learns with the Shita of Baal Hamaor, that this svara that we're saying that something in the Ran, that something which is covering something else, it's not shaykh to have basis. This Rashi holds that, but with a knech, that memela near would be mutter. So Rabbi Akiva Eiger, that's a difference. So in the sefer, you have to pick it up. That's not a near. It's still minatzat memela. You're not going to have the Baal Hamaor svara. Mashenkein hemegul muktzah ein zeh tiltul. Why? Because it's only near. So in the case of near, then we'll be samech on the Baal Hamaor svara. Now, according to this, the problem is Rashi and Daf Mem Tes. He said this for Baal Hamaor. So, according to Rabbi Akiva Eiger has to learn that Rashi learned the Mishnah Noitlas Kisvei Neifel is also talking about only near. Now, look, the Girsa the Mishnah says Noitlas Akisvei is mashma moving it, but you look at the side, it says the original print was Noyer es Akisvei, you're shaking it. So, Akapan, whatever the Girsa is, but according to Rabbi Akiva Eiger, definitely the Mishnah means to say that you are the Mishnah Mem Tes, you're only shaking it. So, therefore, Rashi was able to use this for the Baal Hamaor. Now, shaking over here in the case Rashi said you can't pick it up. In the case of picking it up, you're not going to have this svara Baal Hamaor, and then mainly you'll have this svara. Then will be a problem with basis, even though it's not a real basis like Baal Hamaor, but it's a basis enough to aser tiltul klach hayad. Now another mahalach, those want to say so from the based on the Beis Meir. The Beis Meir, he has a different shot in Rashi, not like Rabbi Akiva Eiger. Rashi and Daf Mem Tes. Again, Rashi Mem Tes says that similar to the Ran. What's the lashon Rashi is that Beis Meir and Shimon Shintes is going in the sheet of the Taz. The Taz was discussing how are you allowed to put candles on the Shabbos table, on your tablecloth. Why isn't the whole entire tablecloth become muktzah? You shouldn't be able to move any part of the tablecloth. So Beis Meir says that the reason is because the tablecloth is not a basis to the candles, because it's really the table which is a basis to the candle. The table is holding up the tablecloth, so it's holding up the candles. The table is there in the middle. But that's not the main purpose. He said that's Rashi tried over here also. The nasi basis lunch ain't osi elo l'chayis sekeder means to say that if you have a pot with a cover and then there's something on top, so something on top is not covering the cover; it's covering the inside, the pot itself. So maybe the cover doesn't become a basis because the muktzah which is on top of the pot cover is not being held up by the cover; it's being held up by the pot itself. As is up the Beis Meir to explain Rashi Mem Tes. So maybe they want to say to learn Rashi like here as well. that you could say Rashi, the case of the Mishnah between the first part and the second part of Rashi, is that when Rashi says because there's no problem of basis at all, because there you're talking about the Megillah Muktzah, so there's room and you can move the cover. You know, the case is it's Megillah Muktzah, you can put your hand on the cover, so the cover is Nishkein Basis. Mashenkein, if it's totally covered and you want to move the entire pat. So if you want to move the entire pat, then the pat is Dochya Basis according to the Beis Meir, because the pat is holding up the muktzah. So that's Pshat and Rashi. That when you're holding the cover, you don't have a problem with basis because the Nishkein Basis, like Rashi is Memtes. Mashenkein, if you're talking about moving the thing itself, then it is a basis. So now this Pshat is only going if you learn the Gemara over here that there's a cover and the muktzah is on top of the cover. But the Pashas of Rishonim, they name on, it's a big on the right. You can see the Maharsha, the Rashba, that the case is, in this case in Nun Aleph, that the cover gufa is the muktzah, and it's not that it's a pat cover plus muktzah. It's a tomid over the kisa. Look at the Rashi, the Achrei, and the Pashas, the kisa is the muktzah is the kisa. There's no other kisa. So obviously this Pshat won't work at that. This Pshat that we're saying, Al Pi the Beis Meir, only works if here there's also a cover. So we're saying a very simple chilik. If over here there's a cover, so then the cover doesn't get a din basis ever. Mashenkein, the pat itself does get a din basis, and this is not like Rabbi Akiva Eiger. Rabbi Akiva is saying even the pat can't get a din basis because of he's learning a different Torah of the Ran, that it's not shaykh the basis at all, and here it's only a different svara because it's near. Now our final Pshat, which we want to suggest, is a Gevaldig Gemara, a tremendous havflidig Pshat based on the Rashba. The Rashba brings down a Ravid. The Ravid asks, why is it in the basis in the Sefer the Mishnah? Why? How are you allowed to shake it? It's like the Rashba because it's it's the case of Megillah Muktzah. It's up to Rashba that it's up to Ravid. It's not a basis because the basis is the Isser Ula Heter. He says because Enechanamid is muktzah on top, but in the Kedera there's also food, so it's a basis over Isser Ula Heter. Now again, so the Ravid is learning that there's no other cover. You're not moving the cover, you're moving the pat, and so the pat is the basis the Isser Ula Heter. There's a cholent inside, or whatever that has to be cholent, and there's also a kisoy on top. So, in fact, the Rashba, what's going on over here? The chayra, what's the difference if it's covered or not? Either way, it's a bus over. So that's walking in the Rashi's kasha, you can move the whole thing. If the bus is lover, also leheter. So the truth is, if you ma'ayin, there's the Rabbi Akiva Eiger in Simon Shintes, he means on a kasha the Minchas Baruch. In the case of Shach Kevin al Pi Achavis, it's a bus. In fact, why is it a bus? The chayra, it's a bus. It should be a bus for the wine and for the rack. Why is the bus lover aser? So we don't have time to have Rabbi Akiva Eiger starts and Pri Megadim starts. But upon Ohr Sameach and others say Taretz, so I'll read Ohr Sameach's lashon over here. It's in Parak something. Parak Chaltei Halacha Yud Gimel. He says, since it's the only way to get to the wine is through the stone, so it's a basis l'davar aser. It's a basis only l'davar aser. Now the Zumla Aisha adds a couple of words to explain it. He says that the dafka hasam she'ena yayin noitul kim derech piachovis v'nasa kula hayayin v'hachovis bas davar. Yeah, that the yayin itself becomes part of the buses. Now the logic behind it, I'm not 100% sure. But the point is saying it depends. If it's not possible to get to the wine unless it's only if you take off the muktzah, then you don't have the svara of basil davar lasul haders. According to that, it's miyoshav Rashi mamish k'min chaymer. If it's megula miktzasa subshadis, so then it's a basil davar. That's mamish deriving means. Then it's a basil davar lasul hader because you could get to the heter without moving the muktzah. Mashen kain. If the entire top is covered, the only way to get it is by moving the muktzah. Then it's me just the basil davar like the svara of the Ohr Sameach and the Rizum Shok. And I saw that the Rashi Taka says to explain the Ravid, but this wouldn't answer the steer's Rashi. The Rashi of him test is right to shver. Then Hakam Rashi Mentes said there it's not a basis, and here why doesn't he have that svara over here also? So to answer the steer, why Rashi here say that svara? But there it is. Then it's pasha because according to this we're going to say like the Beis Meir. So Rashi svara Mentes is only if there's a kisoy as well. Now if there's a kisoy that it's not a basis because what's holding up the muktzah is the pat itself. And in this case, there's no other cover, so there's just the pat. So then the pat is a basis. We're not going to Kivegas. We're not the shaykh the musik of basis. We're saying it's a basis of dover and Rashi's svarim them test you don't have over here because here there's no other cover. Just it's a basis of dover the aser ula heter. Mashiach if the entire thing is covered, then it's only a basis of dover. Also like the Ohr Sameach and the Rashi Yosef and the Laishag is saying, and Iri says just far as well.